This technology for the classroom can be found at desmos.com. Underneath Math Tools, you'll see several things available. The graphing calculator is what I'm going to show you today. You click on that, you get the Cartesian coordinate system. You can enter points to plot and equations for lines and other conics. If we do y equals x, we start out with a basic line with a slope of 1. I like to allow the students to explore and discover relationships about the equation of the line and the slope of the graph. So I suggest we put in a large number in front of the x and compare the two graphs. We see that as we move left to right, they're both uphill, but this one is much steeper. It has a larger positive number in front of the x. So I asked the students, how would we get a less steep line? Invariably, somebody says use a negative number. So when we do that, we see that it's still pretty steep, but now it's going downhill as we travel from left to right. So using a negative number in front of the x gives us a downhill slope. I let them play around, and eventually, or pretty quickly, they come up with, let's use a fraction in front of the x. Now we've got a whole bunch of lines here, and it's kind of confusing. We can toggle off the two so that we can compare our original to our latest, and we see that it is indeed a less steep slope when we put in a fraction in front of the x. Then I like to suggest or ask what happens when we take that equation and add a constant at the end. And I'll toggle off the original, and we compare, and we see that this line is now 2 units higher because we added 2 at the end, and the two lines are parallel. When we look at the equations, we see that they have equal slopes, equal numbers in front of the x. So parallel lines have equal slopes. If they're ready, we can play around and decide that if we use the negative reciprocal of the slope, we can create perpendicular lines. And we have a visual to solidify the rule that perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals of each other. So this is a tool that we can use to quickly discover the relationship between the equation of the line and the actual graph, and that helps them remember more than if I had just told them that relationship.